There, we're gonna do the jack-o'-lantern. So I'm gonna take a little splodge of icing. You can use a knife or you can use your brush and just kind of splorp it on there however you feel. It will go where the jack-o'-lantern's face is. So just kind of brush it down. It's fun to be messy sometimes. So normally what I would do is, you want a nice thin layer, oops. So what I would do is I would let that dry for just a little bit, maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, and do a couple of them in a row. So while this one's drying, you can be working on your next. But for the purposes of video, I'm just gonna go and plunge on ahead. But if you let it dry a little bit, any kind of oozing into this wet icing will not happen. So I'm gonna take my orange and I'm gonna draw my face. And you can have it however you want it. You can make them have scary eyes or happy eyes, scary mouth or happy mouth. You don't even have to do a jack-o'-lantern face. And don't try to be too perfect, because remember, we're imitating something that is cut out of pumpkin. And maybe you do yours perfectly, but I do not. So in order to get that realistic pumpkin-y look, we want them to have separate sections. And the easiest way to do this is, you see on the bottom there's a little curve. Well, the center section of that pumpkin is going to be an oval, and it's going to follow this little curve. So I just want to get it started so that this curve happens for me. And I'm going to meet up with my line I drew. And if I follow that through, it would take me here-ish. And I am just going to continue around. To meet up with the bottom. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Just kind of going around. And our last one here on this side around. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Don't worry about getting it perfectly symmetrical, because it is a growing plant thing, and it's definitely not going to be perfectly symmetrical in nature. And you just kind of toss those on there. Okay, then I'm going to get my flood icing, that thinner icing that we use. And the trick for this, to keep the sections separate, is to do them every other section. So I'm just going to fill in here, and I'm not going to worry about trying to get perfect to the edge with my piping bag. I'm just going to toss it in, because I know I'm going to have to come back with my little stick and get to those corners anyway. So I just kind of splodge it on in. Wipe off your stick in between. And then I'll do this one, since it's fast and easy, before we get to the hard section. And by hard, I mean only relative. It's not that hard. So I'm just kind of making sure I bring my icing all the way through to that corner with my little stick. Any like funky spots where it's bumpy, you just kind of, it should settle in, but kind of stir it with your scribe. Now the middle piece, I'm going to kind of come around. I don't want to stir too much right now, because I did not let my icing dry for the video, that black icing, so I don't want to pull any of it up. If you let it dry, you won't pull it up when you stir. So all I did was kind of come sort of near the lines, and I'm just pulling the icing with my scribe to the edges. Same thing down here. Come up, a little bit, but don't try and be perfectly to the line. And just stir it out to the edge. And then you're going to let that dry for a few minutes. Now, I have one that hopefully I've been letting dry long enough. So we're to the same spot. And now I'm just going to come back in and do the same thing again. You're going to want to let it dry like 15 minutes or so. And I'll be able to tell in just a second if I've let mine dry long enough or if I was too antsy. And you'll be able to come up next to your previous section without it blending in. And then I can fill this guy in. Same deal. And just run him right up against the previous section. You got a bubble or two. Persnickety little one that didn't want to come out. So there we go. So now our jack-o'-lantern is sectioned off nice and pretty. And I set down my green icing somewhere. I usually like to make the little stem with green icing, like the one that you have in your kit, which has somehow eluded me. I cannot find my icing bag that I set down. So let me just grab another color here. And you can just kind of shoosh it on to make a little stem, and you're all set.